identify talent because I think in my mind, and I may be wrong, but I mean in my mind I think of Steve McNair and Eddie George and Mike Munchak and all of those guys, through his time with the Oilers, and into the Titans, that he must have been responsible for a lot of that talent. Keith Bullock, and so on and so forth. A lot of that talent that ended up being so successful with the Titans during that run.
Yeah, he was an excellent personnel man, and he worked really hard. You would always see him in his office very early, be in there looking at tape and checking players out and going to pro days and just very diligent in that regard. And kind of another funny story, when I was GM of the Vikings my last year in Minnesota, my last draft, and kind of interesting, crazy story and so we draft Dante Culpepper in the first round at number 11, but there was a really big sentiment in our draft room that we were coming off the the 15-1 season. We had Randall Cunningham already in house, and he'd been the MVP in the league. And so after we draft Dante Culpepper, but the great sentiment that a lot of our guys, including our college personnel man, really wanted Javon Kearse. And so as soon as we drafted Culpepper as kind of the heir apparent to Cunningham at that point, we had just traded Brad Johnson, and I'm immediately on the phone with all the teams coming up next because we do have another number 1 pick later in the round. I'm trying to trade up to get a shot at Javon.
I think did we lose?
Lo and behold, Floyd says, nope, we got the guy we want, and of course, then they draft Javon Kearse, and everybody in our draft, and then of course, as soon as I came to Tennessee as the president of the Titans, the first thing I said to Floyd was, "Thank you for not trading Javon Kearse to us," because we knew that he was going to be a great player, and of course, ended up being Defensive Rookie of the Year and a big part of that Super Bowl team.
Yeah, Jeff Diamond with us here. Speaking of quarterbacks, right? So you bring in Dante Culpepper into a room that already has Randall Cunningham, into a team there. It seems now more than ever, and you can speak to this, these rookie quarterbacks, and I know they're more prepared for the NFL maybe than they have ever been at any time in the past, but it used to be we'd bring a quarterback in and we would expect them to sit for 2 or 3 years. Is it all about the money? Is it about the impatience, the social media? Everybody wants to see the kid right away. It just seems like everybody, whether it's Mac Jones in New England or whether it's Trey Lance in San Francisco where they got a quarterback who's, when he's healthy, wins a lot of football games. Justin Fields, my God, they're booing Andy Dalton off the field. The guy hasn't even played a regular season game for them yet. Does it seem like there is this pressure now more than ever to play these kids right out of college, and sometimes we ruin them. For everyone, Peyton Manning, it seems like there's a lot more Ryan Leafs out there. What is your thought on rushing these quarterbacks in?
Yeah, I think it really is. It can be a mistake. I think a young quarterback has to be really special to play as a rookie, and there, of course, have been examples. Even Peyton Manning, when he was a rookie in Indy, I think he threw 25 interceptions his first year, but by the second year, he's in the playoffs, and so it's kind of a mixed bag because the value is they get that experience early, and usually by their second season, they're a better player. It's pretty rare that you have a Roethlisberger or something like that as a rookie takes a team to a Super Bowl or far in the playoffs and really has a fantastic year. Certainly it's happened several times, but just as often as not, it's kind of a formula for disaster for a team to throw a rookie in the fire when he's not quite ready, and if they don't have the supporting cast around him. And so, yeah, you think about guys like Fields, and we know here in Minnesota we hear all the time about, well, Fields, when's he going to replace Andy Dalton? When's he going to step in there? How soon? And will it be week 1? Probably not. And now when they're facing the Rams in L.A. to open SoFi Stadium and that number 1 defense, I don't think that Matt Nagy's throwing Justin Fields out there week 1, but he'll probably be out there by week 4 or 5. And same kind of things. I really see almost all these young quarterbacks sitting initially early on and talking about Mac Jones with Cam Newton getting the start, talking about Garoppolo over Lance early on, but I think all of these veteran quarterbacks are going to have a short leash because, as you said, the pressure is there to play these young guys early. And because one thing we know, that the best formula for success in the salary cap era is to have a young quarterback on a rookie contract and be able to build a very strong roster around him, as the Seahawks did with Russell Wilson in Seattle. And that's what certainly teams would love to do if they can possibly do it. And so we'll see how it shakes out with some of these guys. But again, I just think in most of these cases, we're going to see these guys sitting at least week one and then going from there. But again, with a short leash for the veteran quarterbacks. And these coaches just really have to be careful. I think a guy like Belichick, he knows. He doesn't want to throw Mac Jones in there until he is sure that he's a better option than Cam Newton.
Yeah, well, and then we just got word this morning that Cam Newton popped positive for the COVID, and he's going to miss at least the next 5 days, which is, could be critical in that deal. But Cam has looked really good. I mean, it's not like Cam looked last year where he was throwing a ball into the ground or airmailing guys and so on. He has looked different. His mechanics look different. And, so as good as Mac Jones has looked, Cam has looked even better. So I think that one makes a lot of sense there. The other thing I want you to speak to, because I've been saying it, but I'd rather they hear it from a guy that's a former NFL Executive of the Year. I try to explain that these games, these preseason, there's zero game planning, right? I mean, they're not sitting there breaking down film of Justin Fields and deciding what kind of a pickle they could put him in and putting a game plan together. I mean, the defenses are very vanilla. The offenses are very vanilla. There's zero game planning going on. It's all about one-on-one matchups. We see a guy make some splash plays on broken plays and so on, or hit a wide open receiver when a DB is falling down, or some guy that's going to be trying out for a team in the USFL in the spring. I mean, we really have to temper what we see in these preseason games. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, you're absolutely right. I was laughing the other day when I saw the score. Oh, the Titans beat the Bucs 34-3. Yeah. That means nothing because Brady's not playing, because Gronk isn't playing, because all their stars on defense aren't playing on the Buccaneers, and it seems to be happening more than ever that teams are sitting all their starters, or they put them in for maybe one series, and it's just so ridiculous that anybody could look at a preseason result and say, oh, that means something. It means nothing, the score. The only thing that means anything is how these teams are performing in training camp, and really the practices with other teams are almost more meaningful during camp than the actual games, because they sit guys out during the game, and especially the quarterbacks. And so it's just crazy. I think it again tells us that maybe we only need 2 preseason games instead of 3, and these games are awful. Honestly, I hated preseason when I was in the league. I still hate preseason. I hate that the fans have to pay full ticket prices for these preseason games. It's just ridiculous, and yeah, you can't overreact to what you see score wise, especially in preseason. And even when the veterans are playing, half of them are going 3/4 speed. They just want to be careful out there for the limited time they're there. So it's just preseason's a joke, and can't wait till the regular season starts. And it's coming soon, a couple weeks now.
Yeah, and I don't want to put this on anybody, because even in a regular season, and I don't want to invoke the name of Vince Young in comparison to what we might see with any of these rookie quarterbacks, but Vince Young goes out, has this tremendous rookie season, wins Rookie of the Year, and all that stuff on some broken plays, on some pure athletic ability plays. But you give these defensive coordinators enough film, and you see what kind of situations they can create for these guys. And once they figure out ways to keep them in the pocket, and you can't make a living off of broken plays. And I think that's one of the things that we always have to look at. Rick Myra was Rookie of the Year. You remember Rick Myra, for the Seattle Seahawks, was Rookie of the Year and disappeared. It's even more than their first regular season year. It takes a couple of years to see if a guy can fully develop into an NFL quarterback, and that's the key, an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, definitely, and certainly having great coaching is a huge part of that equation, as we saw with Patrick Mahomes with Andy Reid in Kansas City, and that was a great example, as you said, of a quarterback sitting his first year, and then exploding onto the scene in year two, and so it's just a kind of a great example of a good way to approach things. And it's interesting here, Tom, up here in Minnesota, and you're very familiar, as SEC fans are, with Kellen Mond, the Texas A&M quarterback who the Vikings drafted in the third round. And everybody got all excited about up here when he got drafted. Thought, oh, he's going to push Kirk Cousins year one. Yeah, not so fast, not really. And Mond was one of the players who got tested positive for COVID, and he got knocked down for 10 days in camp, which was real detrimental. And he's shown some flashes of athleticism, yes, the kind of stuff that you saw at A&M, but he's not ready to quarterback a team on Sunday in the NFL, and we've seen that in his two preseason starts where he can run around a little bit, but really has still a hard time finding the receivers, and so he's not been real impressive. And up here, they're wondering if he should even be the number 2 guy this year. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens there. But he's not knocking Kirk Cousins out of the box anytime soon, unless Cousins got hurt. And in that case, I think the Vikings would be looking for a veteran quarterback because Kellen Mond is not ready. Probably the same thing with a lot of these rookie quarterbacks. But the first rounders, maybe they're a little different ilk. We'll see. But it's going to be interesting. And there are other really interesting quarterback battles around the league. You watch Jameis Winston and
tonight.
Hill in New Orleans, that whole thing, and what's going on in Houston, in the division with the Titans, and of course Carson Wentz returning to practice today. Will he be ready in 2 weeks for the opener? We'll see. And can he stay healthy even once he gets on the field? So it's going to be a fascinating year with the quarterbacks and really with the whole league as usual.
All right, before I let you go, just give me a minute on one other Minnesota refugee, okay? My man Kevin Stefanski, because you know I'm a big Browns fan, and we are living large these days, and Kevin Stefanski is the guy that's at the top of the heap here, and I am so impressed by this guy. Your thoughts on Stefanski and the job he has done and what he can do?
Yeah, Kevin's a great guy. I got to know him very well when he was with the Vikings as the QB coach and then the offensive coordinator. And just a really down-to-earth, very studious, smart, but a great people guy, great coach in that regard. And we knew watching him here that he was going to have great success at the coaching level, whether it was as a coordinator or whether it was eventually as a head coach. And I was really excited for him last year that he had that great first season as the head coach of the Browns and had a conversation with him after the season. Very excited to congratulate him and such a good person, good family guy, and I think he's going to do great things with the Browns, and so I'm really happy for him. I think Baker Mayfield has obviously been a big challenge for Kevin coming into Cleveland, but Baker made some strides last year, and now we'll see if he can make the next steps towards being that franchise quarterback that the Browns want and need, and maybe he can be the next $35-40 million quarterback after Josh Allen got his deal. We'll see. I'm sure Baker wasn't sad to see that deal come down the pipe.
No, he wasn't, and he will. I think he will get there, and it's going to be really interesting to follow. I've been telling everybody the Browns JV could win 9 games. I mean, Case Keenum looks unbelievable. I mean, it's incredible. They run out, and that's a testament to the staff and to Stefanski. They run out there, and schematically, they just very casually go right down the field. Doesn't matter who's in there. I can't wait to see what it looks like with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and that outstanding offensive line and Baker Mayfield. I mean, it's just going to be ridiculous, I think. We'll see. Jeff Diamond has been our guest. Jeff, I appreciate you so much. All the best to the family. Give my best to your wife, and you guys stay safe up there, and let's hook up again during the season.
Yeah, for sure, Tom. You too, and all the best to you and your family, and we will definitely stay in touch. Take care, and all the best to my friends down in Tennessee and Alabama and that whole area. Sorry to see about the flooding down there, but hope everybody's safe and healthy.
Yeah. All right, man. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, there was some real bad flooding in Tennessee. All right, let's get a break. We'll come back and wrap up hour number 1 next on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Take your taste buds back in time with a trip to the all-new Bubby's Diner, offering a variety of mouth-watering food from delicious starters to 50-style diner food and meat-and-three meals featuring owner and Huntsville native Chris Bubby Belcher's family's homemade recipes. Open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner at 8412 Whitesburg Drive in the former Gibson's Barbecue. And you can enjoy $50 worth of delicious Bubby's Diner food for half price with this week's Zone Deal. On sale now online at 977ESPN.com.
Two Maids and a Mop. That's all you need to know to clean house. Two Maids and a Mop is an award-winning company, bonded and insured. Hire them for yourself, or they have gift cards if you want to make someone else's day. Find out more online at twomaidshuntsville.com. A maid service worth talking about. Two Maids and a Mop take care of everything. They supply all the cleaning equipment needed. Call 256-883-6243. The only finger you'll need to lift is the one to call them.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Scott! Is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I, live with my mom. But the most important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/free. How much? Free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Kramer says that Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll's future quarterback is Mitch Trubisky. He says after Vic Fangio gets blown out in Denver, Brian Daboll gets the job, takes Trubisky with him, throwing to Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, and running backs, and that defense, and all of a sudden Denver becomes a contender. Well, there you go. Former Alabama offensive. I was not overly impressed with Brian Daboll when he was at Alabama, but it feels like he's doing a good job now, certainly, with Josh Allen and that crew in Buffalo. All right, when we return, Justin Ferguson is here from the Auburn Observer. How long will Brian Harsin be out with the COVID, and what does this say about his leadership of this team? Talk to him next on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Wes Neighbor sitting here with Ann Adams. Ann, I understand you have some exciting news.
Yes, Wes, I do. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services was just recognized in the 30th annual Harris Poll Equitrin as the Real Estate Agency Brand of the Year and the most trusted real estate brand.
That is awesome news, Ann. You know, great companies in Huntsville, Alabama, winning awards is what we want. Is it a great time to list your home?
Yes, it is. The inventory is low and the market is heating up.
And I understand you're also looking for agents.
I am. We are so busy, Wes, we need agents to keep up with the demand.
Ann Adams and Rise Real Estate has been doing business in North Alabama for the last 35 years. If you want to do business with someone you can trust, she has been writing contracts since she was 9 years old. Call Ann today at 256-337-2625.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Do you value professionalism and punctuality? Want to learn from and work with the best pros in the electrical industry? Then you're just who we're looking for. Mr. Sparky is seeking hardworking, committed, and trustworthy individuals. With industry-leading salaries, benefits, and growth potential, we also provide ongoing training. So come join our team at Mr. Sparky.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
An equal opportunity employer.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. This just in. Patriots quarterback Cam Newton will be out 5 days due to COVID-19 protocols. He traveled to a club-approved medical appointment that required him to leave the New England area. He received daily COVID tests, all negative, but due to a misunderstanding about tests conducted away from NFL facilities and as required by league protocol, Newton will be out 5 days. He'll continue to prep virtually in team activities and return to the facility on Thursday. After 2 preseason games, 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan says he hasn't seen anything that would change his initial plan of Jimmy Garoppolo as their starting quarterback and rookie Trey Lance as the backup. But last night, Shanahan declined the chance to name Garoppolo the starter for Week 1, said he'll probably wait until closer to the opener. Packers QB Jordan Love expected to return to practice today from that right shoulder injury. The team would like to get Love another preseason start.
And now, another out-of-context moment from the Thom Abraham Show that sounds dirty.
I was actually trained as a plumber, so I know my way around a pipe here and there.
Stay tuned for more from Thom on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Simple Green is perfect for making your auto, RV, cycling, boating, and other sporting equipment look like new. Visit them at simplegreen.com.
The best odds for the 2021 NFL receiving leader, DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, plus 700. Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams, each at plus 800. DK Metcalf, plus 1,000. Updated odds for Cy Young Awards in the American League. Lance Lynn, the favorite, at minus 150, followed by Garrett Cole at plus 150. Carlos Rodon at plus 700. In the National League, Zach Wheeler, plus 200. Walker Buehler at plus 225. Corbin Burns, plus 275. The Braves' lead is up to 5 in the division as the winning streak continues. Atlanta minus 130 on the money line at home against the Yankees today at plus 110, the over-under 9.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You need to be more like a dog.
Like what you guys are doing. You've got your fingertip on the pulse of your listeners. You guys know what they're talking about.
Be a dog.
God bless the show. You are the Messiah.
We need more dogs.
This is the best show on radio.
The big dog, Thom Abraham, is here with you.
Hey, I see you. I see you, dog.
So settle in and get your bark on.
That's my dog.
Now live. Here he is, the big dog.
Let's go, baby!
Thom Abraham.
How you doing? 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 How you doing?
Look, I don't speak Spanish.
I don't know how to say this, so I'm going to choose my words very carefully. I think you're a psycho.
Do you know who I am?
I mean, that guy sounds like Elle McPherson farting into Miles Davis' trumpet.
I guess I'm on here. Am I on? Can somebody respond? Get off my lawn.
I have to drag my Yankee ass out of here.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Thom Abraham Show. This segment brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford. Where at Woody Anderson Ford, you can get your vehicle serviced no matter what kind of vehicle it is. They can take care of it at Woody Anderson Ford. And, you know, there's been a little bit of a scarcity of new vehicles around the country, to be honest with you. And you know, you can get them there through the internet and what they have on the lot. But one of the best ways to keep your vehicle going for as many miles as possible is to have it serviced on a regular basis and have it done at Woody Anderson Ford. So you're going to want to take yours down there and have them do it. When you see their service lanes and their shop, you're going to realize what pride they take in doing what they do. And when you take that kind of pride in what you do, you know, it's gonna manifest itself in the work that you do for the public. So Woody Anderson Ford, make your appointment today. All right, joining us now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, a guy that does a tremendous job for the Auburn Observer, covering all things Auburn, and I'm sure he's all over this Brian Harsin story as well. It's Justin Ferguson. Justin, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I am okay. Apparently in better shape than Brian Harsin right now. This has been kind of fascinating to follow Harsin's, you know, the entire dealing that he has had, you know, with COVID. He hasn't really talked about it. He hasn't endorsed vaccination. He has not talked about how much of the team is vaccinated, unlike some other coaches in the league. What can you tell us now? Do you have any idea whether he's vaccinated and how long he might be out?
Yeah, so I can't confirm personally whether he's been vaccinated or not, but what I can say is that if he remains asymptomatic, which he said in his statement on Friday that he was, if he remains asymptomatic, he would be eligible to rejoin the team according to Auburn's protocols early next week, sometime Monday or Tuesday, depending on when you know the test the result came back specifically, and so. Yeah, it's an interesting spot to be in for sure. It's not ideal for Auburn. Anybody can kind of see that because your head coach, right before the season starts, is having to do Zoom meetings and having to, you know, kind of do the best at being a part of practice remotely. It's one of those things where, you know, Auburn had a plan for this. They had a chain of command. Here's who steps in and does what. They were prepared for this possibility like a lot of teams were last season, you know, before we had a vaccine. But it is definitely something that is going to really test this new staff here for the next week and some change.
We have seen Charles Barkley say that, you know, anyone who is unvaccinated is an idiot and they need to get vaccinated and so on. Harsin has just not been one of those guys that has been at the front of making sure that his team is 100% vaccinated. Is this something that is, you know, putting him a leg down with Auburn fans? How are they responding to this? Do they wish that he had a different leadership on this whole issue of vaccination? Or does it just come down to whether or not, I mean, we're 50-50 split all across the country on whether or not you should or should not be vaccinated? Does, you know, half the people are with him and half the people are against him?
Yeah, I think it's more of the latter there, Tom. You know, I've heard from Auburn fans who are frustrated. I've heard from Auburn fans that are disappointed, considering you know, the vaccination rates from teams like Ole Miss and Alabama and Georgia. And yet I've heard some others, you know, say, you know what, he's sticking to his guns. He believes it's a personal choice, and you know, that's kind of how they feel about it as well. So I think it's pretty 50-50, and I know that there are some fans that is kind of frustrated, maybe lost a little bit of the optimism heading into the season, his first season. Now I think winning will cure all of that if he can get it done in year one. But then I think there's, you know, I've also seen and heard from Auburn fans who like this about him and have, you know, become even bigger fans of him because of it. And it's like you said, it's pretty. It might not be quite down the middle, but it's definitely split with the fan base and the reactions to it. And I think it just depends on people's personal opinions of, you know, what they think should be done with the vaccine and how to handle the pandemic that keeps going on.
Now, we know that in the NFL there's two different protocols on how to handle it, whether you test positive with being vaccinated and being unvaccinated. We see with Mike Vrabel up in Nashville that he all he needs is 2 negative tests within 24 hours. You're right back on the field. Is there differences in the SEC, or is every positive the same? I mean, is there a clue? The fact that you say he would be out a week to 8 days, 9 days maybe, is that a clue that he is unvaccinated? Or because do we know that if you are vaccinated and you pop positive, you can be right back on the field if you have a couple of negative tests?
Right, exactly. So, I mean, I think it's the context clues are important here. Auburn, the way that they're going with this is that if you're vaccinated, you have to show symptoms to, be tested, right? If you show symptoms and you're vaccinated, they'll test you. Now, if you're unvaccinated, they test you more regularly. He says he tested positive, but he doesn't have any symptoms. Well, there you can go. You can draw that answer for yourself there. But, yeah, it's one of those things where the threshold that the SEC wants to set in place, the difference is like, okay, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to get tested unless you show symptoms. If you're unvaccinated, how much and how often you get vaccinated or if you get tested depends on where the percentage of your team is. So if you're above the threshold, it's a lot less than if you're below the threshold. Below the threshold, it happens a lot more frequently. The whole team is subject to still the mask and the social distancing and all that in the facilities and stuff like that. So, yeah, the SEC, to my knowledge, hasn't come out and said, okay, here's our protocols, here's what we're going to do if you have to forfeit a game or whatever if you can't play. But from Auburn's thing and the protocols they've done, it's pretty much kind of the same that they've been in since last season, where it's regular testing and masking and all that.
Well, you did hit on one thing. I mean, the SEC has said that one thing is that we're not rescheduling games, we're not making up games. If you are, if your team for whatever reason doesn't meet the criteria due to vaccination or due to COVID tests, that you would have to forfeit a game. They got 2 obviously extremely winnable games with Akron and Alabama State to start the season out before they take that trip to Penn State. It would be awful for them to drop a game there due to forfeit, in a situation like that. I mean, doesn't that kind of create a sense of urgency? And maybe does it change today with word that the Pfizer vaccine has now gotten full FDA approval, that whole idea of it being, partially approved or emergency approved? I wonder if that changes the landscape of whether or not they'll actually go ahead and just require vaccination. Because you just would hate to see Auburn have to take an L in one of these first couple of games if they have a problem with the vaccine or with the COVID.
Right, exactly, and that's the one thing that everybody I think is worried about. From what I've been told, it would take a lot. It would take a real big outbreak for Auburn to have to forfeit a game to be in a position where they would have to forfeit. But the other thing we know, Tom, is that you can be adversely affected and lose a game without necessarily having to forfeit it. Like if you have had an outbreak and you might have enough people to play, but a good chunk of your key players are gone or your starters are gone, that makes a big difference as well. So I think that's why there was this push, from certain teams in the league to be like, what, we're going to try to get 100% vaccinated because it's not a guarantee that you won't catch it, especially being on a college campus. But it decreases your chances, dramatically. And I think that's something that I think Auburn is going to have to deal with moving forward is that, according to Alan Green, the AD, the vaccination rate of the football team is constantly changing. It's constantly, getting better at this point. And I think guys have had to kind of face the reality when they get back on campus and they get around all these people and have to go through the testing because nobody likes the COVID test. It's not a pleasant experience, but we have to do it regularly. People are starting to change their minds and kind of see the reality of it. But, at this point in the game, this close to the season, you're not talking about like a giant jump, I don't think, in numbers between now and by the time they play Akron. So it's going to be something that we have to monitor and deal with, I think, around here for a while.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it, and it will concern people to some level. You wonder about leadership. A lot of people have brought that up. Is this showing a lack of leadership by not doing, obviously more? You mentioned Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia. Those teams are nearer at 100% vaccination. Do you think, though, that the team necessarily responds to what Harsin says about it, that they're all going to make their own decisions and that's it? Do you think it is actually adversely that it's actually hindering the numbers of players that are getting vaccinated because Brian Harsin hasn't come out and endorsed the vaccination?
Yeah, I can go off of what Brian Harsin has said about the vaccine itself, and he was asked, at SEC Media Days in our beat meeting before he went to the main stage, hey, Kirby Smart's talked about this being a competitive advantage. What are your thoughts? And he said, I think if it's a personal decision, I'm not going to talk about it as a competitive advantage. We're not going to bring that in there. Everybody's got to make the decision for themselves. So that's kind of the message coming from the top down from the football team. There is not this, that the head coach is not going around telling them that you have to go get it. You have to go get it. Now there are other people, and there are other people around Auburn. You mentioned Charles Barkley, who's obviously a key figure in Auburn athletics. But people in administration and other places that have been pushing for it. But yeah, I think that's part of it. If this is a thing where your coach is going to give a personal, stand and say, hey, this is going to be a personal decision, they're going to stick to that. And I don't think that you're going to get into a spot where Auburn players are necessarily going to feel compelled. If they have it in their mind that they don't want to get vaccinated, they don't feel like there's a compelling reason to do so right now. And again, I think that the only thing that changes is just the realities of the situation, whether it's outbreaks, whether there's positive tests, or whether it's just having to deal with what life looks like if you're unvaccinated on a football team right now.
Justin Ferguson with us from the Auburn Observer on the situation at Auburn right now with Brian Harsin on the sideline after testing positive. I thought it was interesting what Nick Saban said about it at SEC Media Days. He said that, basically, no, we're not making it mandatory to get vaccinated, but you got to understand what the impact is on the rest of the team. And you have a responsibility to the team, and there's a consequence to it. And that's what I wonder about it. I wonder if almost this instance of him testing positive will maybe lead more players to go ahead and get vaccinated. They make it as easy as possible. It's not like they got to leave campus and to go get this vaccine. I wonder if almost the reaction to this would be, all right, between that and between this morning's announcement about the Pfizer vaccine being fully approved by the FDA, all right, let's go ahead and take this jab and be done with it and not have to worry about getting all these tests and everything.
Yeah, I definitely think that's possible. And going back to what Alan Green told us this weekend, it is constantly changing and better. So you do have guys coming over the fence, so to speak, and going ahead and getting it done. So it's not like it's impossible that these guys are set in their ways, and they're definitely not going to get it 100%. I think some will be open to changing their minds, and I think we've seen that already from Auburn. And yeah, I think it's just you're this close to the season, you can see how much that this can affect you if you're not going to be around. And yeah, I think that's definitely something that can kind of urge them on. I think Auburn's vaccination rate will go up in light of this. I think it'll get better as we get closer to the season, but I also don't think that this is necessarily going to be a situation where they get to 100%, anytime soon. And so it is something that they will have to deal with. But yeah, I do agree that there is, the more real consequences that pop up from this as closer we get to the season, I think the reality sets in for a lot of people, when you're around it, because, once it experiences and affects you personally, we all know that can change our minds a whole lot easier than, what you hear from somebody, even in a position of authority.
So, again, go over what the rule is for Auburn as far as him being able to get back on the field as quickly as next week, which is, that would be game week. Again, it's Akron, I get that, but that would be game week, and you don't want to lose your head coach and the influence that he has, on the practice field for a week of time like this. But what has to happen? He has to start testing negative when?
He would have to start testing negative at the end of his 10-day quarantine, so to speak. If he remains asymptomatic, he only has to be quarantined for 10 days. That would put him back at Tuesday, I believe, next week to get ready to go But yes, he would have to go through this quarantine process, test negative on the other side of it, and then be able to come out that way. So that is what they're going to be looking for.
So it is 10 days. And that 10-day clock started yesterday? Is that right? Or does the 10-day clock start today?
Thursday.
Oh, it was that long ago?
The clock was started Thursday because he announced on Friday that he had tested positive on Thursday. So the clock starts then with a positive test. You get to the 10 days, and that would be next Tuesday, I believe, if my math is correct. Either Monday or Tuesday of next week, beginning of game week, that would get him ready to be back and to rejoin the team if he stays asymptomatic and he's able to overcome the he would test negative at the end of it.
Yeah, well, we certainly hope that happens. Jeff Schmedling takes over. He is the assistant head coach. He coaches the linebackers on defense. Now, he's got both coordinators are former head coaches, in Mike Bobo and in Derek Mason on the defensive side of the ball. I kind of get where he's going here with this. He puts Jeff Schmedling in control here, which allows these coordinators to continue just working on being coordinators, right? It's more an administrative thing than anything else, having Schmedling, because he can, I would assume that Harsin will be in constant contact almost with Schmedling in terms of, practice planning and things like that. And then this way the coordinators are free to continue to do their thing and get their side of the ball ready.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a way to get the coordinators to keep them on track, and it's also Jeff Schmedling. Why is Jeff Schmedling the pick there? Well, he's been pretty close with Brian Harsin. He was his former defensive coordinator. He knows exactly how Brian Harsin wants to get this week done and the beginning of next week done. He knows it because he's been through this before under him, and so the way he wants it done, just everything that goes with that, the process. This is new territory for Auburn, even if the head coach was around. That this is the first time under a new staff. So, in putting in the guy who has been with him for a while and knows how he goes through this time of year, I think that's another thing that is an advantage, is that he is going to be kind of like the analog to Brian Harsin at this point. Is that okay? Well, I know how Harsin wants to do this and this and this, and I know what this day looks like, this close to the season, because he's been through it before at Boise State.
Is Harsin allowed to conduct Zoom meetings with the team? Can they have an entire team meeting where Harsin is up on the big screen and the team is in the in the team up room? Is he able to do that, or is he not allowed to do that?
He is allowed to do that. So Zoom meetings will continue, and he also talked about working in practice, being able to participate in practice remotely. Now, I'm interested to know what that kind of looks like, where I would probably say it was something sort of live video and constantly chatting with the coaches to kind of make suggestions and moves on the fly. But, the Zoom meetings, I think, are going to be very important. I think that bit of technology, as tired as we are of it from, doing it for the past year and a half, I think it's going to come in really clutch for Auburn here in these next week and some change.
Yeah, and it's not like the whole team has to be on Zoom. They can be in the team meeting room. He'll be up on the screen.
Exactly.
On a Zoom call, but it's not like the team. It's not like you got a million different little boxes. That are sitting there. But no, I know what's going to happen on the field. They're going to have like a 40-inch. Flat screen monitor on a golf cart, and Harsin's going to be on there, and they're going to some student assistant is going to be responsible for driving it around the field, and Harsin can pay attention and yell at players and stuff like that from the golf cart on the screen, or one of those deals.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, the thing that Harsin really hit home in his statement is that they were they planned for this. They know, that there's a possibility that any coach could test positive, including him. All right, here's what happens when it gets to that point. And so I'm sure he has run through the scenarios that include, here's what happens in practice when I'm not here, but I need to be able to watch and communicate.
And in all seriousness, I mean, on the towers where they film practice from, there is no reason there can't be a live feed from each tower. So he can look at, okay, I'm going to look at the offensive team up, or I'm going to look at the defensive period or whatever. He literally could, as if he's in the he doesn't have to wait for the video. I mean, he could be watching practice live and be able to communicate with somebody that, hey, I need that run again, or they need to do this or that. I mean, so that is, it's not ideal, but that is available to him as well, I would think.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be very interesting if Harsin talks to us anytime soon, on Zoom. And they said he was supposed to talk Friday night after the scrimmage, and they said they pushed it back to early next week, the next availability. So I would be very curious, if we get to talk to him during this stretch, hearing his perspective. Okay, on here, this is what practice looks like for me. Here's what the scrimmage looked like for me, not being out there.
Yeah. All right. Finally, Joe Goodman wrote a scathing piece at AL.com. I assume that you read it. Maybe you haven't read it yet, and not. But it seems to go, maybe beyond the scope of leadership. And I think a lot of this has to do with maybe his personal feelings about vaccination and so on. But should we be looking at this as a major indictment of Harson's ability to lead an SEC program of this nature, where he's I think he called it an embarrassing indictment and all this other kind of stuff. Would we go that far in terms of the way Harsin has handled his first year in leadership?
Yeah, I'm not going to go that far. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion on the situation. I'd say this. If Auburn is able to come out of this on the other side where they don't have another outbreak, that this was a pause, an interruption, a disruption in the way of going things, and what happens, what matters most importantly is, the real determination of if Brian Harsin is going to be a good SEC football coach and he is, capable of doing the job is what they do on the field and the wins and losses, and that's going to be coming up very soon. So, yeah, I think everybody has their own opinion and their take on leadership and the whole thing going on with vaccines. But I think the fact of the matter is that, once the season starts, we'll see how much more this is affected. And if it hasn't, and Auburn's able to put together a good season under him, I think even the people who are frustrated and disappointed among the fan base about what's going on, winning makes things a whole lot better.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And you really get that first look when they go to Penn State. What's that going to look like week 3 when they go to Penn State? What kind of a football team goes in there? How do they compete in that game? Win or lose, how do they compete in that game is going to mean a lot. All right, finally, as a member of a public institution, a public figure, should he be compelled to say whether or not he's been vaccinated or not, or do you think that that's something that he can continue to maintain, that it's a private matter, even though he's a public official paid millions of dollars by a public school?
I think the way that you handle this is just like, if you come out and say, no comment or anything like that, I think the people who are vaccinated have gone out and said it, and I don't know if you necessarily need to, hold a gun to his head and say this is what you have to do or what you have to say as a public official. I think people are smart enough to read between the lines and make their own thing, their own stances for themselves. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's necessarily something that he has to come out and say one way or the other. Like I said, I don't know if he is vaccinated one way or another. I can just kind of tell the context clues, and people will draw their own conclusions from that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. I think it's pretty obvious where people stand on this after this long.
Well, and like you said, I mean, you don't get. They're only testing people that are showing symptoms if you're vaccinated. So I mean, you can read the tea leaves here, as to where he stands on or where he is on the deal, for sure. Justin Ferguson has been our guest. Justin, I appreciate you so much. Next time we talk football and get ready for the first game of the season, and that'll be more fun than having to talk about this story.
Absolutely. I can't wait for it. Thank you, Tom.
All right, man. Thank you. Goodman wrote, quote, "This is how an Auburn man takes care of the family? ? Nah. Harson's mismanagement of Auburn football is infuriating, but his stubborn neglect for the safety of the people he is paid to shepherd into adulthood is unacceptable." Close quote. That's what was written by Joseph Goodman. Now, I'll say this about that. I'm not a huge Joseph Goodman fan. I'll be totally honest with you. I am not a big fan of Joseph Goodman's. But having said that, and he is a columnist. He's not a reporter. He's a columnist. So his job is to write opinion pieces. The one thing that I thought was very, very interesting in all of this is that on Twitter, Goodman put a link to this story up on Twitter, and he was destroyed by Auburn fans as being an Auburn hater. And anybody who has ever followed Goodman for any period of time and read his pieces, you would get more of a sense that Goodman is pro-Auburn, anti-Alabama than he is pro-Alabama, anti-Auburn. I have never gotten the feeling that Joseph Goodman was anti-Auburn. He seems to be anti-Harsin right now. And in fact, this response is almost like the response of a pissed-off Auburn fan. People who are responding on social media and saying that Joe Goodman obviously hates Auburn. You're always looking for the negative. You want to dog Auburn. No, this is my take is exactly opposite. This article by Joe Goodman regarding Brian Harsin and his I've been reading his words. His mismanagement of Auburn football is infuriating, and his stubborn neglect for the safety of people he has paid to shepherd into adult is unacceptable. This sounds like a ticked off Auburn fan. That's the way I read that. That's the way it comes across to me. All right, phone lines are open the rest of the way. I want your take on this. I want your take on other stuff. Nick Saban, his comments on Jahil Billingsley are very interesting. His comments on rat poison are very interesting. I get to some other stuff as well. Sam Pittman likes his team, and Mike Leach says the O-line is the most important thing on the team, and if you don't agree with him, you are wrong. I'm not a big Mike Leach fan. I like Mike Leach. I think he's entertaining. I don't think he's a great football coach, but he's right about that. We'll be back. It's the Thom Abraham Show, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Simple Green is perfect for making your auto, RV, cycling, boating, and other sporting equipment look like new. Visit them at simplegreen.com.
The Braves' lead is up to 5 in the division as the winning streak continues. Atlanta minus 130 on the money line at home against the Yankees today at plus 110, the over-under 9. The best odds for the 2021 NFL receiving leader, DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, plus 700. Stephon Diggs and Davante Adams, each at plus 800. DK Metcalf, plus 1,000. Updated odds for Cy Young Awards in the American League. Lance Lynn, the favorite, at minus 150, followed by Garrett Cole at plus 150. Carlos Rodon at plus 700. In the National League, Zach Wheeler plus 200, Walker Buehler at plus 225, Corbin Burns plus 275.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant Bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right, even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
Chad, cue the cheesy Italian music. So you're in charge of the dinner spot, and the family is a hard group to please. Dad wants award-winning 21-day age certified Angus beef. Mom craves authentic Italian food like great-grandma. Sissy pretty much won't eat anything but fresh seafood. And old life of the party, Uncle Walter, likes to enjoy a cigar after dinner with some live local entertainment and some killer cocktails. So you think you're in a pickle? Well, you're not. Relax. I'm Tom Chapman, chef at Nick's Ristorante at 10300 Bailey Cove Road, just south of Weatherly. We have all that and more. Our friendly and helpful staff is eager to help you Tuesday through Saturday, starting at 5. So, corral that crazy crew of yours and give us a call at 256-489-8280 or tell them to check us out at nicksristorante.com. I promise you, the gang will all think you're a culinary cruise director of awesomeness if you take them all to Nick's. See you soon. Ciao. Okay, Chad, kill that music.
Nick's is for patrons 19 or older.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Are you in the market for a recreational vehicle? Do you want to get out and see more of this beautiful country? Well, imagine hearing the laughter of your little ones enjoying gooey s'mores by a cozy campfire and making lasting memories with your friends and family from the comfort of a new camper. We can make your dreams come true at Hall's RV. With over 15 years in the camping business, we know how to get our customers into the perfect camper. We have several models and floor plans here for you to choose from, both new and used. We're family owned and operated with fantastic deals and great service. Everyone wants to work with people they can trust, so come on down to Hall's RV and get the deal of a lifetime. We'll treat you right and get you on the road in the camper of your dreams. Visit us on Highway 431 in Albertville. Hall's RVs, where we sell fun. Or see us on the web at www.hallsrvsales.com. Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
This is Paul Feinbaum. Listen to me coming up today at 2. Now back to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Segment of the show brought to you by TOC and the fine doctors at the Orthopedic Center. For all your orthopedic needs, it is TOC. That should be your first and only choice. They take care of pretty much every high school in the region, and they can take care of you as well at TOC. And it's not, remember, in your mind, you think, TOC, aren't those the surgeons? Well, they're surgeons, therapists, though, and most of what they do is a non-surgical procedure, and they can help you with your injury needs and get you back going as good as possible. Text window, the Chubby Ninja writes, Goodman is a clown. He wrote a similar article last week about it being time to require proof of vaccination to attend a football game. He appears to be more interested in vaccine politics than actual sports. I'll say this about that, because I asked the question at the beginning of the show, a question that was floated out there on the news site of AL.com. Would you be opposed to having to show your vaccination record to attend a game, whether it's NFL or a college game? Would you be opposed to having to show vaccination to attend a football game? This thing is running rampant. I just lost a friend, another friend, to it. We lost Bama Zach, and I lost Phil Valentine. I worked with Phil Valentine. Phil Valentine and I, ultimately, one of Phil's producers became one of my producers. Now, Phil is a very, very conservative talk show host. I am a conservative talk show host. I've told you about my politics. You guys know I don't hide my politics. I'm right at Genghis Khan. But I believe in a vaccine. Just like Donald Trump believed in the vaccine. Just like Donald Trump went and got this thing done for us and saved millions and millions of lives. I believe in the numbers that we see in the hospitals, where the hospitals say that 95% of the people in the hospital that have to be hospitalized with COVID are the unvaccinated. And now today, the vaccine has been the Pfizer vaccine has been approved by the FDA, 100% approved by the FDA. It was before emergency approved. I'm sure that the others will be approved very, very much, very shortly. So I do get the sense that Joe Goodman's vaccine politics are in there. If they're politics, I don't understand why it's politics. I don't understand why it's politics. I don't understand how something like this, and another guy that worked with Phil, that worked with me, Michael Del Giorno, is also an extremely conservative talk show host. He's vaccinated. The last thing Phil Valentine said was, please tell the people I was wrong. I should have been more stringent about telling people to get vaccinated. Please get vaccinated. Phil's whole family was unvaccinated. His brother, his mother, his family. Phil's family got vaccinated when he got sick. Before he went on the ventilator, he was just telling him. He told his brother, tell everybody I was wrong. Get vaccinated. Now, I'm not going to tell you to get vaccinated because I believe in personal choice. I can't tell my wife to get vaccinated. I just give her information. I've got a couple of sons that aren't vaccinated. But I don't understand how this falls on politics, why this is a political thing. My sense about Joseph Goodman is that he's a bleeding heart liberal. That's what I think. I think he's a flat-out bleeding heart liberal. No doubt, in my mind. But I don't think you have to be a liberal to be pro-vaccine and a conservative is anti-vaccine. Donald Trump made this happen. Donald Trump was first in line to get vaccinated. What else do you need? Text window about the guy who wrote the article about Harsin. I don't know if it's true here, but the sure way to get noticed is to write something like this. He's a noisemaker. Well, I mean, that's his job. You know, his job is to write opinion pieces. What he said was, in his article, he said, when a public university agrees to pay a coach $5 million a year, then protecting that public university's interests are the only choice on the table. There are no personal choices for SEC football coaches. And that includes, and this should be understood, but we'll spell it out anyway, refusing to promote vaccination against a disease during a pandemic. Auburn great Charles Barkley was the leader the state of Alabama needed this week when he called unvaccinated idiots and then helping with a vaccination drive in Birmingham. Meanwhile, Harsin can't be with his football team during fall camp because of a positive test. 10 days he's missing. He missed the groundbreaking on Saturday at a new football facility. Every day he's away from the field, he will lose more credibility as an effective leader. Ole Miss is 100% vaccinated for fall camp. Alabama is right near that number. And Auburn's coach is in quarantine, not by choice. That's what he wrote. Do you think Nick Saban is a liberal? I don't. My guess is that from everything I've ever known about Nick Saban is that he's pretty conservative. His team's vaccinated. He's vaccinated, and he does PSAs about getting vaccinated. So I don't get it. But again, I believe in that personal free choice. But you know what? They make us wear seatbelts, don't they? I mean, have anybody ever gotten a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt? I got a ticket for not wearing a seatbelt. I mean, you ought to talk about a chicken bleep thing, wearing a seatbelt. I got a ticket for wearing a seatbelt, not wearing a seatbelt. The guy on a motorcycle could go right down the street in a motorcycle. He got no seatbelt. Riding down the road in a motorcycle. They got those little buggies that people ride around in, them three-wheelers and stuff like that. Yet I got a ticket for driving in a truck that's got an airbag 35 miles an hour for not wearing a seatbelt. I'm like, are you kidding me? Get the hell out of my car. But it's a law. And they don't tell us that we can drive whatever speed we want to drive. There's a speed limit out there, 70 miles an hour, and I stay within 10 miles of that, usually 10, 12. miles of that. I mean, so there are things that, yes, we have freedoms. We don't have as many freedoms as we should or as we used to have, but we have freedoms. But there are also things that are in place. We all get a polio vaccine. You can't go to school without a measles vaccine. Your kids got to get measles vaccine. And I get it for those of you that are like, man, we rushed it. All right, if you believe that, okay. Now it's got full approval from the FDA. Shane is in Decatur. Shane, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tom. How are you, sir?
Fantastic.
I wanted to touch on this Brian Harsin and vaccine thing here. So I stand on the same side of the fence as you do, and I'm not one to sit here and say we should or should not get the vaccine, because I understand that it's a good thing. But my thing is folks like this Goodman guy, and there's a lot of others out there that are quick to say that us as conservatives, we're not getting the vaccine because politics, right? And we're against it because of politics. All right, well, where are the people that turn around and say that you're turning it into a political statement by saying we're not getting it because we're Republicans? You know, I mean, we've been getting it from one side, yet they turn around and do the same thing, but no one ever makes that point about these same people.
Well, what I don't understand, Shane, is that when it comes down, when they do the studies and the polls and everything else, it's like 69% of liberals or Democrats are vaccinated and 41% of conservatives or Republicans are vaccinated. And I don't understand that, because I guess I'm in the 41% because I'm way over there. So I don't get it, but they keep perpetuating that. They want to perpetuate that. They want to make us look bad. I understand that part of it. But I do understand also that most of the people that hammer against it, I don't hear a lot of liberals or Democrats out there coming out against the vaccine. You just don't hear it.
Right. I mean, and neither do I. But, I mean, I just don't think that someone, because of their political affiliation, should be considered, either, anti-vaccination or whatever the case is, just because of your political affiliation. Because, I mean, they're quick to throw the stones in our direction because, you're conservative, right. You guys were against the vaccine, but now we're for it. I mean, and like you said, you believe the numbers on television. I don't always believe those numbers.
Right, that's true.
I have to think they're inflated at some point in time.
But I talk to a lot of doctors who are conservative, and they're like, this is nuts. We should be doing this, just like we do with polio and measles and other vaccines that out there. That this is, and that the numbers that the hospitals have no reason to say, hey, by the way, 95% of the people that are in a hospital bed right now are unvaccinated. That the people who are vaccinated are much more protected. Now, I don't know what the vaccine is going to do 10 years from now. And that's what a lot of people said. It'll look, what does this mean down the road? But here's the funny thing. And the Chubby Ninja says, look, I'm fine with a vaccine. I'm not fine with a slippery path of requiring papers of any kind to attend an event. Next will be papers for the grocery store, which is essentially forcing people to get the vaccine. I bet the Chubby Ninja, he says, I'm going to stay home if it requires anything other than a ticket. I bet the Chubby Ninja is for requiring voter ID, because I am. I think you better. I don't think that you should be allowed to vote without a piece of paper, without a license. To be honest with you, I think you should have to take a civil service exam, a civics exam, because we got idiots voting that they have no idea what the hell they're voting about. But what I'm saying is that I believe in voter ID. That you should have voter ID. That's a piece of paper. I believe that you shouldn't be able to just vote without an ID, and that's as dangerous as going to a game without a vaccine, because you're voting with no knowledge. You have no knowledge of what the hell it is that you're doing, and yet you're casting a vote that is the same as an educated vote. It's an uneducated vote in many cases. You got to have a license to buy a house, to rent an apartment. Why in the heck can you vote without a license? You got to have a license to do anything. You got to have ID, not a license, but ID, right? Don't you? You can't do anything without. You can't buy a beer without ID, but you can vote for it. So that's a piece of paper, and I bet the Chubby Ninja's with me on that. But what's different between that and, the vaccine?
It's not. Just don't categorize me and then get ticked off when I turn around and categorize you as doing the same thing. Not talking to you personally, but
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good call. No, we've got to stop labeling people. That's where I think he's going. We've got to stop labeling people.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. I completely agree. Everyone's a doctor, apparently, when it comes to this virus and when it comes to this vaccine. And, I'm kind of, on the side of Brian Harsin where I'm just, tired of hearing about it. Because at the end of the day, I don't tell you my medical issues and my medical stuff. I don't just talk about it willy-nilly.
You're not being paid $5 million a year to lead a public university's most public property. You know what I mean?
I get that. I completely get that.
Us, you know what I mean? And does he have a responsibility to be a leader, to stand up and say, look what Saban said. Saban said, hey, I'm not telling them that they got to get vaccinated, but I am telling them what the impact is that they have on a football team if they're not. They could negatively impact you. So do it for your teammates or do whatever you're going to do. Whatever decision you make, think about the impact that it's going to have on the team because that's the thing here. It's the team. To take the vaccine or not should be based completely on health, medicine, and science. How anyone can bring politics into this is beyond me. What arrogance. That's unsigned from Twitter or from the text window. And that's the only thing I ever don't understand. I just don't understand the political part of it. I have never understood the political part of it. When the leader of the red side of this thing, Donald Trump, he's the one that made this happen, got us a vaccine, saved lives by doing it, and he's the one that was in line to have he and his family vaccinated. He's the guy, So anyway, all right, let's get a break. We will come back with a final segment. Try and get some of this the Saban audio. I thought was fascinating. See if we can get some of that in there. Or at least one piece was. We'll do that next. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by C-Spire, Alabama's fastest internet for your business or home. Learn how to add gigabit C-Spire fiber to your roster at cspire.com/ALFiber. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. You're listening to our first Crimson Tide Today of the new school year. We'll be having these updates for you Monday through Friday here on the network. The Alabama football team held its second scrimmage of fall camp on Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Head coach Nick Saban gave his thoughts following the scrimmage.
Well, I think the number one thing that you want to see in a scrimmage like today is, number one, you want to sort of evaluate improvement from last week to this week. I thought there was a significant amount of improvement, especially in certain players. A lot of players got a lot more opportunity today because we got some guys banged up, which is a good thing. Not that we're banged up, but that they got an opportunity, and be interesting to see how some of those guys took advantage of that. I'd say all in all, we made good progress, but we've got a long way to go.
I'll have more in a moment.
Finally, college football is back. The Crimson Tide are back. The sights, the sounds, the raw emotion. Experience it all with the fastest speeds in the state, only from C-Spire. Who cares, you say? When it's 3rd and 7, down by 6 with 2 minutes to play, trust me, you'll care. If you're a fan, you're a fan. And nothing's going to stop you if you have the fastest speeds around. C-Spire.
Saturday's scrimmage was the final one of fall camp for the Crimson Tide, who will return to the practice field on Monday. Alabama starts the season on September 4th in Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium against the Miami Hurricanes. Kickoff is set for 2:30 p.m. Central, with our coverage on the network starting at 11:30 a.m. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by C-Spire. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Tired of the same old menu options everywhere you go? Then you need to try Metro Diner in Huntsville and Madison. The award-winning Metro Diner serves up signature dishes like their Charleston shrimp and grits, famous fried chicken and waffles with strawberry butter, and lots more. Their entire menu is available anytime, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And stop by for brunch on Saturday or Sunday and enjoy the lowest price mimosas in town. Airport Road, Huntsville, and Highway 72 in Madison. In diner or at home, make it Metro Diner.
Thom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
Everybody knows the fun begins when you get to the end zone, where you can enjoy half-price apps every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, half-price burgers every Tuesday, plus late-night pizza specials and a spectacular menu that includes jumbo wings, half-pound burgers, Tex-Mex, and an incredible selection of craft beer, and plenty of big-screen TVs. It's all happening at the end zone, 1851 University Drive, 2030 Cecil Ashburn at Jones Valley Station, and coming in early 2022, Mid-City End Zone at 1115 McMurtry next to the Target Shopping Center.
Sitting here with Mark Kent of Southern Fidelity Mortgage Group of Huntsville. Mark, do you help pre-qualify people?
We pre-qualify people all the time, Wes. As a matter of fact, I love having them coming in here because when they come in and they pre-qualify, they can leave my office knowing exactly how much they can buy and have no worries.
Mark, tell me about your rates and pricing.
Well, Wes, this is something we're really, really proud of. Long story short is, I love being able to provide the best pricing in town. Honestly, I cannot tell you the last time I lost a deal to either rate or pricing, something I'm very proud of.
So what all financing options do you have, Mark?
We do several different things. If you're purchasing a home, we can handle the purchase. If you're wanting to refinance your home, of course, rates are at the lowest they've been in the last 3 years. We do a lot of refinancing. If you're building a home, we can handle the entire process from breaking ground to the final close.
Do you sleep with your phone?
Wes, if you want to reach me, you can call me at my office phone, which is 256-562-1000. But always remember, I sleep with my cell phone at night. That number is 256-656-5936.
From the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. For this Monday, expect a sunny sky. High temperatures will top out in the lower 90s, but heat index values could reach as high as 102 degrees. For your Monday night, expect a mostly clear sky. Low temperatures will fall into the lower 70s, and we will be remaining dry. I'm meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
People stay a little bit longer. We want to play just a little bit longer.
Welcome back, Thom Abraham Show. So Nick Saban talked about the mental test for the guys, and it went rat poison again.
Well, basically, I think the biggest thing that we have to deal with our guys is you have anxiety that these players have. First of all, they read what you guys write. They read that they're supposed to be in the playoffs. They read that they're number one. They read all these things that, I've referred to this as rat poison before. All right, so that creates a lot of anxiety, and everybody thinks they have to elevate their game. So you got that going on with the older guys, which I'm trying to convince them, hey, man, we just got to play our game. Everybody's got to play your game. Don't put pressure on yourself and think you got to be something that you're not, and we got to play together as a team. And then you got young guys who are recruited that have high expectations for what they want to accomplish and what they want to do, and in some cases maybe not realistic in terms of how long they focused on what they have to do, the process of getting it right, and they get a little frustrated because they're not making the kind of progress that they want to make. So you got kind of all these variables sort of circling around, on your team. And we really got to get everybody in the right mindset just to buy into doing the things that they need to do to play well, play their game. And I think for different guys on the team, there's anxiety level for different reasons. And we want to have high achievement motivation and low anxiety and have guys excited about playing. Interesting point when he, talked to the team. Do you say, I got to do this? Or do you say, I get to do this? and we get to play. We get the challenges of the season. We get the opportunity to play some great football teams, some on the road, some at home, great SEC schedule. So we get to do these things. And that's how I want everybody to look at it. So they got a lot of positive energy and enthusiasm to get after it.
It's great answer there. I mean, he was getting close. He got close to getting loose. You could tell it was close.
I could feel it.
He was getting close to letting loose. But that's a great point, and that's something that he has to deal with. That's something that he deals with more than Oklahoma, more than Clemson, more than Ohio State. It's a fact. He has to constantly get them back mindset, and I love that. And I watched that, man, if you didn't see the Ernie Johnson talking to the team thing, go look that up. When Ernie Johnson said, do you feel like you got to do this or you get to do this? One letter. What a difference between got to produce the Thom Abraham Show and get to produce the Thom Abraham Show. You're so lucky, Chad.
I got to come back twice, too.
Twice.
You haven't got rid of me yet.
You get to come back twice. Not got to. Get to. All right, that's going to do it for us. Coming up next is Chuck Oliver, Paul Feinbaum, and The Drive, all right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was